Anchors up, sells at full. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing pretty well, Jared. Doing pretty well. How are you doing?
I'm sunny. I'm very sunny. I think I might be burnt come tomorrow morning, and not just because of the red lights behind me, just because I've been out in the yard all weekend, except of course for a little break on Saturday. Oh,
yep.
Well, I forgot to hit send on this. There we go. Buckeye Esquire asks, which team had San William Dixon? We will get into that. But before we get into that, Kyle, we have one piece of business. It's a new tradition, but it's a good tradition. It kind of fuzzed a little bit before I actually did the crack. I don't think that's a very good one, but that's okay.
Yeah. Before we get into the meat of our episode here, just doing our review of the spring game. We got to talk some commitments here. During the spring game here, we have a pair of commitments here. We have a top 5 tight end commit, Nate Roberts from Oklahoma, committing to Ohio State, as well as in-state safety. Yeah, as well as in-state safety Cody Haddad from Cleveland, committing to Ohio State as well.
At Roberts at tight end, expected, but still very well welcomed, considering one of Ohio State's primary tight end targets committed to Miami, and another one has been receiving a lot of RPMs over at if you don't know, an RPM is the on-3 version of a crystal ball. But yeah, a lot of RPMs heading towards one of Ohio State's other primary tight end targets, also sending them to Miami. So are we using on-3 more now? Yes. I'm making the switch over with Wilt Fong switching over. I think I'm going to, we always used to say, recruiting rankings according to 24/7. Well, I'm friend of the show, Alex Gleitman's over there now. And then of course, recently Will Fong switched over to on-3. I think that's going to be our primary source from here on out, as far as recruiting rankings and all that go, and following RPMs and everything. So, but yeah, that's a whole other thing that we don't need to get into.
All right,
Haddad, the second Haddad decommitted from Wisconsin, we knew where this was heading.
Exactly.
Still obviously welcome to get the commitment. Still great to get the commitment, but the second he decommitted from Wisconsin, we knew what was up.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and get into the spring game here.
Yeah. Now, Kyle, do you want to talk about the actual spring? Okay, we picked our teams last week. Now, I was under the impression that we were gonna let the fans vote to see who won, but Kyle has painstakingly put together a collection of stats for each of our teams. Now, before we get into that, I just want to point out we had 2 separate votes. We had a vote on the Discord server, and shockingly, Kyle destroyed me because everyone likes Kyle. Everyone's team Kyle. But Kyle kind of slaughtered me in that. Now, however, Kyle, I also put a poll up over at Buckeye Huddle. And I'll have you know that the results over at Buckeye Huddle also greatly favored you.
Well, let's talk about the offense first here. Oh, it doesn't allow me to copy. Oh, Google Drive, you fail me. All right, I will do it the hard way here. So here is our. Wow. Sure. As soon as I'm able to pull this up here.
Having trouble. Kyle's having trouble.
Yeah, I am.
So of our 2 quarterbacks, Kyle had Devin Brown. I had Will Howard. Statistically speaking, very similar. You might give a slight nod to Brown based off of rushing stats. And he did also end up getting a touchdown, whereas Howard didn't. But stats aside, I come out of the spring game unsurprised. I think a lot of what we are hearing through spring practice was like, and actually let's go ahead and pull up the grades, because we can also be doing the grades as we talk about the quarterbacks. A lot of what we were hearing from inside camp was that Devin Brown might be ahead as far as actually throwing the football, but that Will Howard might be running the offense a little bit more efficiently. And I don't, that doesn't necessarily show in the spring game stats, but I think if you watched the game, I think that was the feeling I walked away with. Essentially, Howard just looked a little more in command of the offense. Is that how you read it, Kyle?
Yeah, I definitely read that. Like Will Howard, especially that first drive, he had a really good feel with the offense there. Felt yeah, he was able to move that ball really well, and then the defense just stood up in the red zone there on that first drive. Yeah, I'd give the nod to Will Howard, but I mean, Devin Brown's right there. I mean, with Devin Brown's ability to run the ball, and you've heard a number of times from Ryan Day talking about that, running the quarterback this year, running the quarterback. So getting the quarterback more involved in the run game. He said that a number of different ways during the spring game. Would not surprise me. We see sprinkles of Devin Brown here and there.
Devin staying? I tried to throw an is somewhere in there for you, Zach. I would say so. Yeah. I hate talking about transfers is so tricky nowadays. We used to just never do it, but it feels silly to not talk about transfers in today's day and age. The portal is literally opening on the day we're releasing this. My assumption is that both Howard and Devin Brown are going to stay, but I don't know that. If anything, it's Keenholz I would be watching to enter the portal. Sayin looked, I mean, by true freshman being on campus for a moment, looked pretty decent. I mean, he looked pretty good considering that he's been on campus long enough to get a cup of coffee. And quite frankly, Nolan was running a more simplified, little more read option version of the offense, granted, but man, he looked slick. Like he was running read option like JT Barrett, and that is saying something. Like he was killing that read option.
He was.
Air reminds me of Fields running. My feeling on Aaron Noland was very JT Barrett, very Kenny Guyton is sort of what he was reminding me of on the field on Saturday. He had the camera completely fooled a few times. Yeah, the cameramen, they also had their third string in at that point. Smooth jazz Aaron Noland. Exactly. Overall, Kyle, what would you rate the quarterbacks?
Oh. Honestly, it was, I would say like a B minus, somewhere around there. I'll just say B. I'll just say B.
I completely agree. I think B minus. We'll just throw a B in there for the sake of ease. But yeah, I think a B is solid. you have to consider a lot of things with grading the quarterbacks. The defense is just monstrous. And not only is the defense monstrous, but the defense is also returning a bunch of experienced players, whereas the offense is doing a little bit more of a rebuild. You have a new quarterback, you have a couple new offensive linemen, you know, you have a little bit of, you lose Marvin Harrison. You're doing a little bit more of a change up on offense, right? And the receivers aren't bad. I mean, of course, but it takes time to build rhythm with an offense. Defense had a lot of PI not called. That's fair. The refs, I think, threw an entire flag on Saturday, and probably could have had a couple more. Buka looks to be taking over. Buka had an excellent day. We'll talk about the wide receivers.
He did. Yeah. Well,
Buka's on the thumbnail.
Yeah. Let's talk about the running backs next here. Oh boy.
Okay. So hold on. This is. Oh, Kyle had the better running backs. Kyle picked the better running backs. Yeah. Well, when I picked my running back, Hayden hadn't portaled yet. Okay. Hayden hadn't portaled yet. It's really not fair. And Kyle, do you not have any? I mean, come on, you got to help a brother out with Hayden, right? I mean, I did have Williams Dixon. That helps. That helps.
Okay, even if okay, yes, you did. But even if you add in, like, I guess the only other option you would have picked here for a running back would have been TC Caffey then.
Caffey also had he had 5 carries on the day, couple catches. Caffey had a good spring game.
He did, yeah. He had a really good game too.
But yeah, once again, the defense was just on top of things.
Man,
but how would you rate the running backs?
Honestly, from what I've seen, I give an A. Yeah, I was very, very impressed with the running backs here.
And let me say this as well. We're not necessarily ranking the coaches here, but I'm very excited to see Chip Kelly's version of the Ohio State running game. Like,
yes, that's exactly what I was about to talk here, Jared. Now, how much of this will we actually see? But man, this got a lot of Ohio State fans excited here. And I'm talking about the
first play.
The first play here. You start off with this kind of formation, Jared. Mm-hmm. You start off with this kind of formation, and you're like, "What? What is this?" And then
looks like a wildcat, some sort of wildcat, and then a motion.
And then
happens.
All of a sudden, and then the motion happens. You're like, it's that meme with the old WWE owner where he just like excited, and then all of a sudden you see this formation, he just flies back into his chair.
Yeah, for sure.
But the one thing here, and this play,
for the record, we aren't going to see a lot. We are not going to see a lot of this.
We're not. But still, this play would have been a 1-play touchdown run here. If you saw,
Judkins,
I did not paste it in. Yeah, you see him cut in. If you see him cut in there and actually get to that third level, to block the safety there, 32 to the house. That is
very well could have been. Very well could have been. Defense not prepared for the wing tee. They were not prepared.
And you know
Esquire
what?
says Caffey runs like a
expect
tank.
A lot of teams to be.
No, but they'd adjust. Esquire says Caffey runs like a tank. SWD runs outside very well. Chip's scheme has so much creativity and misdirection, including on play actions. Judkins is a monster running inside zones. Yeah, and then it is funny because a lot of the running backs like to run in very different styles, whereas Henderson is very good running behind a pulling offensive lineman, sort of a one cut and go sort of guy. And I think one of the most important things is that they can all catch the ball as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking at, let me go back to my stats here. Looking at all of the running backs here, Jared, I'm scrolling up here. So Henderson had 2 catches. Peoples had 3 catches. Judkins had a catch. Caffey had 2 catches. They're all getting, now, yes, they're all getting into the play to be able to make a catch, but also I think it's because of the defense really getting after the quarterback, and the quarterback having to check down to the running backs more often too.
It was a lot of check down. There was a lot of check down Charlie happening for sure.
Yep. All right, offensive line, Jared. Yeah, the offensive line. This is one thing I was a little disappointed in seeing here, just because
we have to remember how good the defensive line is.
Yes, how good the defensive line is, and how simple the offensive plays were in this game here. Exactly, Caleb.
And I thought that the offensive line, at least the starting offensive line, blocked well for the running backs.
Yes. The first drive was pretty well.
Pass protection appears to still very much be an issue. I would say that when they had the starting 5 on the field, which was not a lot, like even on the second drive, the second drive with the quote unquote ones, because they had
so it would have been
they ran the first drive.
It would have been the third. It would have been the third drive.
Correct,
technically,
because the second drive they had a full second string offensive line in.
Yeah,
the third drive when the ones quote unquote ones came back out, they subbed in a couple different offensive linemen at some different positions. And what I'm seeing right now is that Ohio State does not have any depth at the offensive line position. I think they can put together a good, I thought Fryer looked pretty decent. I didn't really even notice Simmons play, which is exactly what you want out of an offensive tackle. Same thing with Jackson. All the snaps were good. I would say we saw, and this was rumored to have been happening after the student appreciation scrimmage, and we did see we are seeing Hinsman make the move from center to right guard, and we're seeing McLaughlin at center. So it looks like Ohio State has a right guard. It looks like Ohio State has a right tackle. Fryer looked a little bit leaner, a little bit better on his feet. He did have some issues with Jack Sawyer, but Jack Sawyer's going to give a lot of people issues this year. I think the starting 5, I think the starting 5 are okay.
The question's going to be, can those starting 5 be good enough for a national title contender?
The starting 5 are good enough to win every single regular season game. They're good enough to do that. And of course you can tell by the way I phrase that what am I not saying? I really, 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 and it has to be the right guy. Like I'm not saying go out into the portal and just get a guy. You don't need another body. Ohio State has bodies. Ohio State needs a starting tackle out of the portal still, in my opinion. I mean, they need a starting level offensive lineman out of the portal, period. And ideally at tackle. Because, maybe Hinsman's the right guard. Maybe you can bump Fryer into right guard and have him play right guard and have a new tackle. And Fryer looks better than Fryer looked last year. I don't know. I just, if there's an injury, I don't know what happens if there's an injury. I think Ohio State, I think we know who the starting 5 Ohio State offensive linemen are right now. I am very concerned if anyone gets injured.
Yeah. So if I'm going for grading here based on what I've seen from the spring game, like a C, I would say.
I'm going to do a C, but I'm going to toss a minus in there.
Pass protection needs to improve. Pass protection needs to improve.
Yeah. I mean, and they need someone. They need a 6th guy, and I don't know that they have a 6th guy. I think the first injury brings Tegra. The next injury brings in Montgomery. I think it depends upon where.
Yeah. All right.
I think it depends upon who gets hurt. I don't think either of them are the definitive 6th guy. Personally. Zach says snaps could have been better. But I didn't have the best angle. I mean, the snap either works or it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I think Esquire says starting 5 will be fine with 1 to 2 guys that won't kill us if they have to play. Honestly, I'm not even sure about that. But Kyle, before we move on to the tight ends, I want to take a quick commercial break. If you don't want to hear these commercial breaks, you can join the Patreon, patreon.thesloopcast.com. There you can get your very own RSS feed or just listen straight through the Patreon app and avoid these commercials. Let's go ahead and take that commercial break now. Okay, Kyle. Tight ends. How do you feel about the tight ends?
It's definitely a drop down from last year.
Yeah,
I'll say that it's definitely a drop down there. I thought
Kitzmerrick's barely been on the team at this point, and he had some good catches late in the game. And quite frankly, with the wide receivers being the wide receivers, and for what it's worth, I think G. Scott got hurt pretty early on. He came off the field after his first catch, spent most of the rest of the game on the bike. And again, with the running backs catching as well as the running backs are catching, and with the wide receivers being who the wide receivers are, I don't know if I need or want a lot of pass reception production out of the tight ends.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking for this year. No, this year will not be the year of the tight ends.
No.
But yeah, it's definitely a more of a pass protection type of tight ends this year.
Yeah, Esquire says Kitzmerrick in there mostly as an addition to the offensive line, which is fine with me. Exactly, Esquire. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. All right, so I'd say the tight ends C plus. I'll just say C plus just to give them a better rating than the offensive line.
just to make that abundantly clear.
Yes.
Just to make sure. I'm gonna go a little bit more generous than you and do a B. Right. As long as they're blocking well, I'm happy.
And the wide receivers, Jared.
Wide receivers. Hey Kyle, which one of us drafted Brennan Scram and David Adolph?
None of us did.
Oh, okay. They collectively The two of them collectively caught the ball 7 times for 81 yards. Seems like a real miss on our part. Scott,
yes, I know.
Esquire says Scott's first catch was actually pretty nice too. Shame he came off limpy. Yeah. I mean, it's a spring game. You get a little bit hurt, you get off the field. It's a glorified practice.
So, yeah, Jeremiah Smith. I mean, you see how smooth of a runner he is there. Emeka, everybody's going to talk about
Jeremiah Smith. 2 catches for 12 yards after all that hype. Kyle, is he a bust? Are we ready? Are we ready to hit the brakes on the JJ Smith hype train? I'm kidding, of course.
Not when you have
Don't
these,
take me seriously,
not when you have
please.
these shutdown. Not when you have these shutdown corners with Burke and Igmanosin and Simpson. Hunt had a great game as well too. Like this defensive corners are just, and Caleb Downs as well, are just a lockdown. They are lockdown defensive backs. They played, yeah, exactly. Esquire. They played filthy all day on Saturday.
Filthy both in a positive way and filthy in a very grabby, pushy sort of way. Esquire also says, the Scram kid had sweet hair too. Walk on with that kind of flow should have gotten more attention from the beat, frankly. Esquire, you're goddamn right. That dude needs to get in the NFL just so he can steal the heads and shoulders ads away from Troy Polamalu, who has been retired for quite some time now. I mean, the Fox broadcast was blown away. Shout out to the Fox broadcast, by the way. That was an excellent, very entertaining broadcast. I loved hearing from Ryan Day on the field. I loved Ryan Day and Urban Meyer talking on the field. Kyle, there's an Ask Sloopcast question from Duncan, who asked us to grade the broadcast team. I didn't have time to change the graphic. But yeah, Fox did an A+ job. Fox did an A+ job. That was amazing.
Very, very well done. So the rest of the receivers here, everybody's going to talk about that Emeka catch. I mean, Emeka does Emeka things there, and yeah, so what a great catch there.
Emeka got tired of JJ Smith getting all the attention this spring, and he's just like, "Hey, guys, I'm here too, damn it."
Well, and he almost made another one-handed catch in the end zone too. He got really close to doing it again.
Yeah, it's kind of a fall away, very JSN like.
And Kojo Antwi had himself a pretty good game too. He had 3 catches in here as well.
Yeah. I drafted Brennan Ennis, who turns out did not play. So shucks on my part.
Yeah.
Even Jenny Taft made Emeka talk about JJ. He had to have been pissed. Nah, he wasn't pissed.
Yeah.
He wasn't pissed. So it was funny though that she tried then to talk to Jeremiah, and then they got called onto the field. Like the second the microphone was put into his face, they got called onto the field. It was pretty funny. Wide receivers, Kyle, where are we grading them?
Maybe like an A-. There isn't really much to pick on them. Like I watched the game, and I can't really recall a time that there was like a wide receiver drop.
Yeah.
So
I'm giving him a B. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a spring game. It's not life or death. The defense is understandably very far ahead of the offense right now, which is normally the case in the spring. But again, considering the turnover on the offense and the lack of turnover on the defense, is to be expected. It's just to be expected. The wide receivers did not have a spectacular. Well, the wide receivers who we wanted to see have spectacular days didn't. David Adolph and Brendan Scram did. But yeah, it's just, again, it's just a spring game. It's not that important.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the defensive side here. As a reminder, I'm going to take a screenshot of this real quick here. As a reminder, here are Jared and I's teams for the defensive side here. There we go.
All right.
And yeah, defense, I think overall defense, yeah, dominated. We knew this defense is what was one of the best defenses in the country last year, returning the vast majority of the starters back this year.
All but 3, right?
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah, this defense is early on show you how great this defense can really be this year.
Yeah, only losing Eichenberg, Steele, and Mike Hall. I mean, who are significant losses, but Ohio State looks to be replacing them very efficiently. Jalen McClain, sneaky team, Jared W. Yeah. I agree. I really like the linebackers, because like, even though like you lose linebackers, but you have Simon, who's wasn't, but might as well have been a starter. You have coming down from the safety position, so he started at safety. So you're kind of returning. It's weird. You lose your 2 starting linebackers, but the 2 linebackers you have on the team kind of started last year. And then, like, in order to fill in the gap at safety, you bring in Caleb fucking Downs.
Ridiculous. Yeah. And we've seen, like, there was a number of times, there was at least like 3 or 4 times that they tried throwing it to Downs. I don't think there was a single completion where Downs was covering a guy.
And they went at Iggy a couple times at a fade in the end zone to the far side of the field, and Iggy was having none of it.
None of it, yeah.
Gabe Powers kind of flashed, I feel, says Esquire. Yeah, I mean, Caden Curry had a good day. Jack Sawyer, you know, again, it's a spring game, but man, Jack Sawyer looks to be carrying the momentum that he had towards the end of last year, at least through the spring. CJ Hicks had an amazing day.
Well, back to Sawyer real quick though. Like, just looking at him, he looks lean. He looks so much more leaner than he did last year. He looks like a stereotypical Big Ten 90s middle linebacker right now.
Playing defensive
that's what
end.
He looks like.
Because that's how that works. Because that's how that works now.
Yes. Like, man, I am excited to watch number 33 ball out this year.
Yeah. Kyle, how do we want to grade the defensive line?
I mean, defensive line played really well. Not just your typical ones that we're accustomed to seeing. Tyleik Williams had a good game. We talked about Sawyer, Hamilton, but also the young bloods too. Yeah, Edric Houston, one of my guys that I picked for my team here, Jared. He had himself a game too. 6 tackles by him.
Yeah. Caden McDonald stuffed the middle as well, says Esquire.
I gotta give them probably the highest grade here, like an A+. Defensive line, just stellar.
I already put an A+ for me as well, Kyle.
No,
yeah,
so you did.
Yeah, and again, it helps a lot that they didn't go up against Ohio State's starting 5 as a full unit too often.
Yeah.
they not only is Ohio State's defensive line one of the better units on the team, which is saying something. They also went up, they had the benefit of going up against one of Ohio State's worst units.
Yep. All right, linebackers though.
Again, CJ Hicks in his first time out. Again, it's just a spring game. But first time we see him starting, had an excellent game. As Esquire pointed out, Gabe Powers had a really good game. Sonny Styles has 6 tackles. Cody Simon didn't play a lot. He's got 1,000 reps. He's in that 1,000 rep club. He didn't need to play a lot. How helpful is Laurinaitis for Hicks' consistency? Is that a rhetorical question, or would you like me to answer that, counselor?
Helps. It helps.
Both. Good. Very.
Yeah. I mean, linebackers, I'm kind of torn on because one hand, they've made a number of really good plays here, but I can't really grade them low. So I'll say like an A- as well. I really liked what from what I saw from the linebackers. They weren't playing out of position.
Yeah.
And that's really what you want from these linebackers. Don't play out of position and make sure tackles. Again, you can't answer that second question in the spring game here, but that's what you want from the linebackers here.
We saw the young guys getting tackles. We saw the younger guys getting tackles. The starters not so much, but
yeah. All right, corners though, Jared. A.
Yeah.
Corners were locked down. Safeties were locked down. A's all around for the corners and safeties for me.
Well, don't get too far ahead. We're still talking about the corners. I'm not going to give them a plus. I'm just going to give them an A. And the reason for that being some of those are flags in actual football games. They were being very bumpy downfield. There was a lot of bumping, a lot of grabbing happening downfield that once again, I think probably could have, there was one pass interference call on the entire day. There probably could have been a couple more. But Iggy played really well. Jermaine Matthews played really well. Calvin Simpson Hunt played really well. I don't ever remember. Did they even try to throw at Denzel Burke at any point during the day? I don't remember.
That's a good question, but Aaron Scott, the true freshman here, had himself a really good game. He one of the most tackles for the defense, 6 tackles, 4 solos, also two pass breakups in the game as well,
and a near
Aaron
interception.
Scott had himself a really good game.
A near interception as well.
A near interception, yeah. Calvin Simpson had an interception, and then we had a lot of players who weren't on scholarship that ended up getting interceptions as well in this game.
For sure.
Who all had interceptions here? It was Inky Jones had one.
Did he? I don't believe he
did.
Not according to the stats. Okay.
Yeah, I missed writing that one down. That was my bad.
Okay.
Inky Jones had one. Calvin had one. Deontay Griffin and Jalen McClain all had a interception as well.
There you go. Jalen McClain, true freshman. True freshman.
All right, safeties. I still say an A for the safeties as well. Safeties did a really good job in this game, so I give them an A as well.
I agree. I mean, we're kind of already singing their praises. I don't believe who did. I'm blanking all of a sudden. Who all played at safety? Jihad Carter ended up not playing.
Yeah, I was a little surprised.
He looked to have been in a shoulder brace. So we got to see a lot of young guys running with the ones early. That's one of the reasons why
Hawkins was in there. Cedric Hawkins had 5 tackles for the game. So he got in there. I mean, we saw Caleb Downs obviously was in there.
Inky Jones got time for
Bonsu.
Yeah.
Bonsu was in there as well. He had himself a great game too. 5 tackles as well.
Who's going to transfer per Dave Biddle?
Jihad.
Yeah. Jihad Carter.
Mm.
Yeah. That's not a shock. He came in from Syracuse. I think people were expecting him to be more of a contributor than he's turned out to be. And there certainly have been injury issues play into that. He's absolutely good enough to go somewhere and play. And therefore he should, you know what I mean? It's the same thing.
Yep.
It's the same thing. You know, we have a lot to talk about and we haven't really had an opportunity to really even talk about Dallin Hayden transferring. Let me just say this about Dallin Hayden transferring. A lot of people want to write a lot of, you know, no disrespect to any of the beat writers or any of the people who have to write a column that has to be X number of words. They got to go out there and people got to make their podcast and people got to do stories. I get it. But let me tell you, there's a lot of stories out there. A lot of people, Kyle, do we have to grade the kickers?
No, it's just an NA. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Nope. So yeah, let's talk a bit of Dallin Hayden then.
But before we do that, I think we should take a quick ad break and we'll get right into that here. So we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
That's a good tease, Kyle. All right, we're back from the break. Dallin Hayden. Again, no disrespect to any of the writers or any of the other podcasters who have to fill time. But I'm going to tell you guys exactly why Dallin Hayden transferred. And a lot of people want to tell you a lot of stories. They want to tell you, they want to write out this narrative and they want to tell you that I'm going to tell you why Dallin Hayden transferred. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to tell you the whole damn story in one sentence. One sentence. Are you ready? He's too damn good to be the third running back. Nothing else needs to be said. Nothing else needs to be said. Dallin Hayden is too damn good to be the third running back. Well, the position coaches and he's too damn good to be a third running back. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. And too old. Yeah. Too good and too old / experienced to sit around and be a third running back.
Yeah, it's a shame. I liked Hayden from what I've seen with his time at Ohio State.
I wish him well.
It is the truth. It is the truth.
The second that the absolute moment that Judkins came in, Hayden was going to transfer. He was going to wait till the spring to do it, which is fine. That's a smart move in many cases. Sometimes it's just smarter to wait till the spring. He's too damn good to be the third running back. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to wildly speculate about who else is going to transfer. Again, the portal is going to open. the day we release this podcast. There's going to be additional Ohio State players enter that portal. And I'm going to tell you right now that the story at the end of the day, the story as to why any or all of them transfer will be they're too damn good not to be playing more. Period. This team is loaded with talent. Loaded with talent. So if X wide receiver, if this wide receiver, because look at the wide receiver room, it's bursting at the seams with talent. Someone's going to transfer.
Yep.
I'm not saying who. I don't know who. I could make a guess. I'm not gonna. But players out of the wide receiving room are going to transfer. At least one. I'd be shocked if one of the wide receivers doesn't hit the portal in this new portal opening. Why did they do it? Is there drama? Because they're too damn good not to be playing more than they're going to be playing this year for Ohio State. That's it. We don't need narratives beyond that. We don't need storylines beyond that. There are a ton of amazing wide receivers, a ton of amazing safeties, a ton of amazing pick your position. Ohio State is so deep. Of course, I picked safety. They're not particularly deep at safety because of injuries at the moment, but I don't know why. Of all the positions, I picked safety to say. Ohio State is amazingly deep at linebacker right now. So if I'm gonna say Gabe Powers, and I'm only gonna say Gabe Powers because he's so damn good. To be clear, I have no idea. In fact, I'd be surprised if he did. Just to be clear, I'm not speculating. I'm not pushing anyone into the portal. If I use you as an example here, player, it's because I think you're very damn good. If Gabe Powers entered the transfer portal this week, it's because he's too damn good and could be starting at most places in the country. Kyle, I think I said this on the podcast last week. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Ohio State's second team defense could be. Let me turn this into a question, Kyle. The talent level is too damn high.
Said no one.
How many teams in the country right now wouldn't? How many teams in the country right now would not trade their first string defense for Ohio State's second string defense? 11 for 11 players. How many teams in the country right now would not trade their entire starting 11 defensive players for Ohio State's second string defensive players? Especially from a talent standpoint. Like, okay, if we remove experience, and you can't remove experience, but from a pure talent standpoint, most. Like, I mean, all but a handful. You start bringing experience in, and it changes, right?
Yeah, almost all of them. I would definitely say that almost all of them. But obviously,
all but 6, 7, 8.
Your cream of the crop. Probably be the exception to that, like the Georgia. Or
of course, Georgia, of course, would not.
Yeah, and like even with the departures that Alabama has, I'd still say Alabama still has a really strong defensive side. Still.
Absolutely, Alabama would not take that trade. Absolutely, Texas would not take that trade.
Texas would not either. Michigan wouldn't because Michigan.
Michigan has I'm going to say this. Michigan has an excellent starting 11 on defense. They are struggling with depth.
Yeah. Yes. Agreed.
And if you have any follow-up questions on that, a couple months ago, Kyle and I did an off-season Know Your Enemy edition of Michigan, where we went through that defense with that entire team with a fine-tooth comb. And I'll tell you right now, they've lost players since then.
Mm-hmm.
Ask Sloopcast. Fuck Michigan? Yes, indeed. Fuck Michigan. Sort of spring game related. Who is letting Urban leave the house wearing transition lenses in the year of our Lord 2024? Are the transition lenses? I have good eyes. I'm not bragging. It's not mine doing. I don't take care of them. It's just genetics, I suppose. Are transition lenses uncool? I'm not a glasses wearer. I don't wear glasses. I don't have contacts. Listen, I'm an old man. I just clocked, the odometer just clocked over for me a couple weeks ago. I'm getting older by the day. My eyes still work and my hair's still here. I have blessed genetics. They're the Heelys of glasses, I feel like. Listen. One of the great regrets of my life is that I was just a little too old for Heelys. I remember being a teenager watching kids with their Heelys being like, damn, I was born too early. I'd have loved that.
All right, Jared. The important question, though.
Yeah. Which
team won? Team Kyle or Team Jared?
All the votes went to you. You okay. Crushed me in the Discord vote. But that's just because people like you more.
But if we look at how each player did, how the players did here.
But that's not how we drafted it, though. If we were trying to draft for stats, I would have been reaching down into the roster deeper. I wouldn't have been picking experienced players who we knew damn well were only going to get a couple drives. That's not a fair way of going about things. I maybe would have drafted TC Caffey or maybe even David Adolph. Maybe not. Maybe I wouldn't have drafted David Adolph, but I probably would have drafted an additional quarterback. Like, we didn't do fantasy. Kyle, we discussed before last week, should we do this based off of fantasy points? And then we decided not to do it because we both, am I Canadian? Because we both knew that if we did that, we'd both just end up drafting off of the third string because we knew they were going to get the most stats. We had that discussion. We decided not to do it that way. You can't all of a sudden start thinking, oh, well, what about fantasy stats? You can't change the rules the next week, Kyle. We decided to do it based off of the votes, and you crushed me in the votes. Do you need to win twice?
Hey guys and gals.
Do you need to
all I hear is that Team Kyle won.
You did.
That's all I hear.
We decided to do it based off of votes. You won the damn votes. You can't all of a sudden decide a week later that we're also going to do it based off of fantasy points when that's not how we drafted the players. Because you need to win twice, you selfish asshole. Do you need to beat me again? Do you need to beat me based both off of the rules we were playing by and the rules we weren't playing by? Do you need to win twice, Kyle?
Do you really want to know the answer, Jared?
I already know the answer. Yes. It was a rhetorical question, Kyle.
Well, spring camp's come and gone, Jared, and we have another 4 months until we see the players back in Ohio Stadium.
I'm still upset at you.
What else is new? Let's see. So we still got a couple more. We still got a couple more weeks before the transfer portal ends. So we're going to still see some more movement here. Jared and I know many others are hoping that Ohio State makes one more move to find another offensive lineman coming into Ohio State here. See if that happens or not. But yeah, after that, Jared, once May 1st comes around, the wasteland is here. The wasteland is here for a few months.
Yeah.
For 3 months.
Cal, we still need to figure out what we're doing for not next week. I think we know what we're doing for next week's episode. I don't think we have anything lined up because I think we were going to do like a draft preview, but are there enough Ohio State players in the draft this year? Will people actually give a shit if we do a draft preview or a draft recap? I think we have some holes in the schedule, if I'm being honest. We might need to work on that. We also might just take the first week of May off because we have some time away. Maybe we'll do a shelf episode. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
All right. I think that's it. I think we'll call that an episode here.
Kyle,
Jared.
I asked, do people care about a draft episode? Esquire said probably not. And Zach reacted with 100%. So I think that's the answer to our question. Guys, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to get drafted high, and the Bears are fucking stupid for trading away Fields and not drafting Marvin Harrison. There's my draft preview. There, I did a draft preview. Are you proud of me?
I'm so proud, Jared.
Thank you. Bears are a shit show. Bears have been a shit show since Brian Urlacher left. Not that it was Brian Urlacher's doing, but you know what I'm saying. Are you happy your team has Fields now, though, Jared? Yes, I am. I hope that he wins the job. I'd much rather see him starting. All right, Kyle, that's it. That's the end of the episode. Do you have anything in Kyle's corner?
Not really. Talked about the two commits on Saturday here. With those commits, Ohio State is now, according to on three here, Ohio State is number 1 in the recruiting rankings here.
Yeah. Just and tell me if you've heard this one before. Just need to sort of lock down some additional offensive linemen. And then we'll be good. No, it's gonna be an offensive lineman light class for Ohio State in the 2025 class, because I think it's going to be a particularly good and a particularly large offensive line class in 2026. The 2025 class is coming together very, very nicely. Kyle, should we? Well, the last mock's not that old. I think it's too soon to do another mock. We'll figure out what we're doing over the next couple of weeks.
All right.
They said on the broadcast, if JJ is 1-on-1, throw him the ball. That's all I need to hear. Yeah, guys, we don't need to.
He did say that.
By the way, and I'm just shooting down future podcast ideas. Let's not do this, Kyle. Here's an episode we should not do. Is JJ actually we're going to reshuffle the depth chart next week. Isn't that what we're doing next week? We're reshuffling.
That is.
All right. Next week, we're redoing the depth chart, and I'm letting you guys know right now, let's not play this up for drama. Jeremiah Smith starting. Jeremiah Smith is going to start.
If that ball that was thrown to JJ in the end zone there, if that was thrown higher and more towards the back, that's JJ all day.
JJ all day. Hey, Kyle, here's an idea for an episode. It wouldn't be next week. It would be the week after. Should we do an in-depth breakdown, a scarlet and grade, but not a scarlet and grade? It would be a know your enemy of the Michigan spring game. A little bit of Know your enemy? No?
No. No, we've already done one too many episodes dedicated to Michigan here, so I don't think we should do another.
three straight losses, Kyle. It is what it is. It is what it is. Got to keep an eye on the enemy. Got to know our enemies, Kyle. All right, that's the end of the episode. That's Kyle's Corner. That's the end of the episode. It's time to wrap this up. Yeah, tonight's ending music will be brought to you by a Columbus-based band called Courtney from Work. Once again, the name of this band is Courtney. Is that who I'm doing? Well, it's who I'm doing now because I said it. So one way or the other, that's who we're doing now. So once again, the name of this band is Courtney from Work. So with all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support your local podcasters. Once again, this is Courtney from Work.